Right, this is going to be I'm just going to say it as it is, right? Yeah. If you're anything like me, when it comes to improvisation, right? Talking harmonica, right? Improvisation. What does that mean? Yeah, so I'm going to do a little bit of harmonica, but I'm just going to talk, okay, for a few minutes. Because if you've been following me, right, it's probably harmonica that you've been following me for, right? So, right, so I'm going to put a link in the description because I just YouTubed it. What is improvisation on an instrument, right? And the video goes, it's only a 15-minute thing. It don't mean to say you got to watch the whole thing, but it's a guy on a saxophone. Yeah. Because when I've sort of looked into, I haven't done a deep dive into looking for improvisation videos, but when people have sort of shared a video, bit of improv over a backing track or something like that. And when I first got into harmonica, it sort of, it's what you want to do, isn't it? You've heard some blues and you just, improvisation. You're sort of like, right, and there's going to be two types of people watching me right now. You're either going to turn it off because you know better, you've been there and done it, and you don't want to hear me waffle on. You don't need to comment, just move on. If that's you, move on. But if you're quite new to harmonica, maybe you're in the same place where I was, and I've also met a few more people along the journey where they're in a similar place, right? And that place is one where you kind of, you don't know what improvisation is, and you've heard it somewhere, and you think, or you just thought, it's kind of assumed, like I did, you might be that person, or you're assuming that you can just make stuff up. Yeah. So what I like to do is, when defining what something is clarify what it isn't. Right? It isn't just making stuff up out of nowhere. Right? So I've mentioned this sort of thing in my videos talking about this. Right? If you and me have a conversation, I'm going to ring you in 5 minutes, right? Without you knowing, okay? You pick up and we just chat, right? It might be general conversation about harmonicas, about where you're from, family, job, all that sort of stuff. Well, you ain't going to go, oh, yeah, well, unless you're a complete liar sort of thing, right? You ain't going to just, North Pole. I'll ride a bobsleigh. Like just completely making stuff up. Like, oh yeah, I got 3 wives, and they're completely beautiful, and I've got 25 kids, and you're just going everywhere, right? And right now, a few of you have switched off, but some of you might still be listening. The picture is this, right? When we pick up the phone, right, we've spent, I'm 50 years old. I've spent a lot of years learning how to talk, converse, communicate with people. If we was to have that conversation about my car, what car you got then, and all that sort of thing. Well, I didn't just pick the car up this morning like I don't know nothing about the car. Yeah, do you get where I'm going now? We had to go and pick the car up. The person who gave us the car, they told us what brand it is. The brand stamped on the side. I've had to fit new, I've had to pump the tyres up. So I've had to research, what, Seat Leon. Seat Leon, what's the pressure on the tyres? So I've navigated some paths, what fuel it takes, that sort of thing. What sort of coolant I can put in the engine. So I've navigated these paths of understanding what I'm dealing with, right? So that's like the conversation on the telephone is like that's what we do with harmonica. We speak through the harmonica, but you know, like if you have never played harmonica, you can't just pick it up and improvise, because there's many steps you got to go through to get to that sort of place, right? So like the guy on the YouTube video, I'm going to put the link in the description, he said the definition of improvisation is spontaneous composition. So composing something, a bit like the conversation, composing it spontaneously, right? So it's a bit like the conversation on the telephone. Didn't just learn to talk this morning. I've been learning to speak for some years, using language for some years now, right? So with the harmonica or whatever instrument you're on, but with the harmonica, for instance, there's pathways to it. Like, you know, you can't just go, oh yeah, put it back in. Well, you can for a while, but if you turned up at a gig and did that, or a carol service at church, you're gonna wreck the joint. Like, let's have a go. Got a backing track in the key of G. I guess you sort of got my point, right? If you've done that, I'm not taking the mickey out of you. I'm illustrating a point. So there's journey, isn't there? You've heard about it. Clean single notes, major scale, breath control. So there's some of the things, yeah. So these guys who are in these Facebook groups, and you get a beginner asking questions about blues and improvisation. I just sit back on a sofa and smoke some weed and just suck and blow on it, and you know, just jive and groove, and it's totally unhelpful. No, if anybody is any good at these things, right, they've had a good go, possibly, unless there's some sort of genius just picked it up and just started doing stuff, magic. So I don't mean I don't mean magic, but I mean, you know, just sort of just picked up, just mad. You know, these guys pick up a violin and just work it out. I don't mean that. Most people have to work for these things. Yeah. So if I'm hearing a song, or if I want to play a song that isn't blues, it's just a tune. So the first time I learned how to play that, I didn't use a tab. I went twinkle, twinkle. Which whole? Oh, right, that sounds like it. And then I built upon it. So I created sentences which sound like the song. That's based upon the major scale. So the first time I did that, I was kind of improvising, although I'd used the tune. It's for me on here it was improvising, obviously using my mouth, humming the tune. That's not improvising. So right, I defy anybody to make contact with me and tell me that I'm not speaking like some logic here. Go and watch the video. The guy with the saxophone, he says it himself. He says, it's creating spontaneous composition based upon notes, chords, keys, and scales, playing scales, right? So I'll play that same backing track in a minute, and I'll just show. So, I'm not a professional. I'm not a gigger. I'm not in a band, right? But I can do a bit of improv, and what that means, kind of to me right now, is when I press play, I'm gonna play some kind of licks. I haven't got them written down right now. I have not written them down, but I learn them. When I say them, I've learned one or two licks, and I'll play the lick in a different way, maybe, which is called the word will come to me in a minute. Phraseology, phrasing it in different, just playing the same notes but phrasing them differently. It's called phraseology. Rephrasing, phraseology. It's a bit like saying, I love you. But to say that differently might be a bit frustrated, a bit angry. I love you! Like that sort of thing. Some twisted madman. Or singing it. I love you. So you've made each note longer. So you've rephrased it. Or you might go, I love you. Or something like that. I love you. So short, long. Yeah. So phraseology. So how you rephrase a lick. And then right. So you've got scales. Scales are a sequence of notes put together to make some, would I call it a sentence? It's more like a word. Is it like, say, like the word condemnation? If you took all the letters from that word, you could reword it a little bit, which is a bit like a scale. You can play a scale in. See, I'm sort of playing. Yeah, that don't sound musical at all, but if I put a backing track on, it will make some logical sense. Then also they were just notes, just playing notes. And then to add to that, you've got ornamental things. So dirty notes, bends, scoops, slapping. To get more technical, you got lifts and pulls. Dave Barrett, bluesharmonica.com, talks about them things. And so they're ornamental things. Trill or warble sort of thing. So when somebody puts, say, a trill into something where he's kind of improvising, that person's already spent a lot of time practicing trills and warbles. They've already practiced dirty notes, a scoop. Yeah? They've already practiced the blues scale up and down if you're playing blues music, or there's other scales that can go over it. So they work that out. So they blues scale is 2 draw. in blues music, I don't think they'll ever do a 2-blow, for instance, or the sixth draw, or the 5-blow does that. Anyway, so I certainly don't want to mislead. What I'm saying is they've travelled these paths. So I think this video is long enough, really, for me to get my point across. Improvisation doesn't mean 100% just making it up from fresh air, having never ever used it or never ever travelled the roads, the pathways of what's going on. So what they might do, one of the things that they might do is do somewhat on the loop. So for the one chord, and they might do that backwards. So for me personally, the paths that I've travelled would be just stuff that I've learned: Joe Flisco songs, Tomlin schools, the licks, the 12-bar blues that I've had to record and submit, and then they want you to do improvisation. So, and I didn't make stuff up, created my own licks, so to speak, but it's just taking notes from the blues scale and sort of just something like that, and so like I'm saying, I'm going to play this right now, and it's not going to be too impressive at all because I haven't written anything down, but I've spent some time playing these things. Stop it there, because that was just what you call noodling. I didn't put any thought into I just didn't put any thought. So in order to make improvisation a lot better, where they're proper, you know what I mean, is learning the root notes across the harmonica, having some licks, like maybe not written down, but something you've been practicing on, sort of thing. Like if you was going to play a gig or record a proper video, then you're going to want to think about what you're doing. You want to try and make sure the one chord is where the one chord is, the four chord where the four chord is meant to be, with notes that complement those two chords, and then the 5, 4, 1 turnaround. And so that's what I'm saying. So I guess what I'm saying really is it's not as simple as it sounds. Oh yeah, improv, yeah. No, it's not just improv in that sense of the word. So I think quite possibly, and this is where I'm getting to really, I think quite possibly there's been a lot of people who have gone out and bought a quality harmonica, and they thought they were gonna just play some blues because it sounds really sexy, it's fun, it looks really easy, doesn't it? Yeah. And these people, they don't look that they don't look special, if you know what I mean. They're just sort of like, they often look scruffy or whatever. You know what I mean? They're just, and yeah, what you don't know is they put their lives into this. They sold their soul for this. Some of them sold their soul for this living. Do you know what I mean? So, well, some of them died doing it. Do you know what I mean? They did. It didn't just come. Do you get me? It takes work, this sort of thing. Hence the reason why what I just did weren't too impressive. But if you're new to the harmonica, fairly new, and you go back and watch what I was doing. It was in the right key, and I was playing notes from the blues scale with the ornaments and all that I was talking about. So I hope this sort of helps somebody. I hope it's like you find yourself sort of going, right, okay, I understand now. I'm going to have to put a bit of work in. And so that you don't get despondent and discouraged, that you'll continue on the journey. God bless.